Imagine looking back over 4,000 years, long before steel infrastructure, or early telecommunications, or even the earliest stone castles. The world was raw and intensely dangerous. This overhead view captures the ruins of ancient Babylon, the epicenter of early imperial power. Out of the flat desert, the tyrant Bel constructed a massive, centralized urban complex built entirely of mud brick, establishing an empire that fed on the resources of the surrounding lands. Bel was physically massive, and his political demands matched his stature. He required total subjugation from every smaller tribe and nomadic clan within reach. You either bowed to his centralized authority and paid him tribute, or you were crushed by his overwhelming military numbers. For independent family groups, the calculation was grim. They faced a binary choice: surrender their autonomy to become cogs in the Babylonian machine, or face complete annihilation on the desert floor. One patriarch refused that choice. His name was Hayk. Known for his striking features, curly hair and sky-blue eyes, Hayk commanded a massive extended clan, consisting of hundreds of sons, daughters, and grandchildren. Where Bel demanded fear and complete centralized obedience, Hayk led through familial bonds. His authority was decentralized, rooted in kinship and mutual survival, rather than the rigid, oppressive hierarchy of the Babylonian state. When Bel's messengers arrived demanding the standard tribute, Hayk gave a clear, definitive answer: absolutely not. He openly rejected the tyrant's authority, declaring that his family would remain entirely independent. Knowing Bel would retaliate with overwhelming force, Hayk immediately mobilized his entire clan of hundreds. They packed up their lives and began a grueling march directly north, toward the harsh, freezing, and mountainous terrain. This migration was a highly calculated tactical retreat. Hayk knew his Slala force would be slaughtered on the open plains. By retreating to the mountains, he was purposefully forcing any pursuing army to fight on a severe geographical incline. Looking at this map of the ancient Near East, you can see the clear geographical shift. Hayk moved his people out of the Mesopotamian flatlands and up into the severe, elevated ridges of the region marked here as Armenia Major. The topographical lines here reveal the severe terrain of the Armenian highlands. Holding these ridges meant Hayk's scouts had miles of clear visibility down the valleys, forcing any invading force into narrow, treacherous bottlenecks where sheer numbers would count for very little. When Bel learned that a single clan had openly defied him and escaped, his reaction was explosive. To maintain the illusion of absolute power, he had to make an example of them, so he deployed a massive, highly trained army into the mountains to exterminate the rebellion. Bel's vanguard was a terrifying machine of war. These were professional, specialized infantry units, stretching as far as the eye could see, and unlike the lightly equipped Highlanders, they were protected by heavy, solid iron armor. The lines were drawn for a completely asymmetrical clash. On one side, a massive, armored professional military force pushing up a narrow incline. On the other, a heavily outnumbered family fighting desperately to protect their homes from a severe high-ground position. Hayk didn't have ranks of professional spearmen. His defensive line was made up entirely of his own sons and grandsons. They understood perfectly that if the lines broke, there would be no prisoners. This diagram illustrates the specific mechanics of Hayk's primary weapon, an oversized bow, often described as the size of a tree. A standard ancient bow lacks the kinetic energy to maintain accuracy over extreme distances, but the massive draw weight of Hayk's weapon allowed for high-velocity, precision strikes far beyond normal engagement ranges. Continuing on this cross-section, we see the problem with Bel's solid iron defense. A standard arrow will shatter or deflect on impact. To pierce early iron plating, you need a projectile with extreme mass traveling at near maximum velocity. As the giant Bel confidently led the charge up the mountain, Hayk recognized the mathematical reality of the battlefield. If that armored vanguard reached the top of the bottleneck, the clan would be massacred in close-quarters combat. He had exactly one chance to break the assault. Hayk drew back the massive string, calculated the steep drop, and released. The heavy arrow erupted from the bow, tearing through the thin, high-altitude winds, straight toward the Babylonian leader. The extreme kinetic energy did its job. The arrow punched cleanly through the thick iron plate of Bel's armor. The giant collapsed instantly on the rocky incline. In ancient warfare, a massive imperial army is held together entirely by the absolute authority of its leader. The moment the Babylonian troops saw their invincible god-king fall to a single impossible shot, the command structure evaporated. The entire host panicked, turned, and fled back down the mountain. This sweeping view of the highlands around the ambered fortress captures the harsh, beautiful geography Hayk's clan permanently secured. By shattering the Babylonian advance, they won the right to settle these mountains and valleys in total peace. That victory codified the identity of a people. While the rest of the world uses the term Armenians, the descendants of this ancient clan refer to themselves in their native language as Hayer, a direct linguistic evolution of Hayk's own name. The geography itself carries the same stamp. The nation's endonym, Hayastan, literally translates to the land of Hayk. Every time the country is named locally, it is a reference to the man who led his family up the mountain. This flag, the modern tricolor of the Republic, directly echoes the elements of that ancient victory. The red marks the blood shed to survive. The blue represents the clear highland skies they fought under, and the orange mirrors the rising sun of a free people. Hayk isn't just a story. He's the symbol of always standing up for what is right, no matter how big the giant is. It establishes a very specific, enduring priority, that living freely on a freezing, rocky peak is infinitely better than living comfortably on your knees.